everybody, and welcome back to Finding Fashion. Today, I'm really excited to welcome Farleigh Hungerford, who is the founder of an amazing new fashion e-commerce site, Farley. Thanks so much for joining me. It's lovely to see you.
Hi, Hannah. It's so lovely to meet you. And hopefully one day we'll get to meet in person, but it's lovely to be here. And I'll tell you a little bit about Farley. So I'm the founder of a platform for resale. It's a social resale platform. I guess the best way to think about it is like a shoppable Pinterest. It's a little bit of Instagram, a little bit of Pinterest, and a little bit of a Depop or a Vinted, if you're familiar with those resale platforms. A virtual online flea market. And I came up with the idea, I think like maybe 4 years ago, and it's taken me this long to really put the idea into practice. So we're set to launch in November this year, which is really exciting. I hope you'll be coming to the launch party. We did a little soft launch in January. So the platform is really for people to buy, sell, and curate products, and they're secondhand products. We're really aiming for people to be, and the way you do it is by creating a virtual shop window, and you can put up to 10 items in your virtual shop window, and then you post it onto a news feed, and people can curate your products into their windows and post it through their windows, or they can shop and buy products from different windows. So yeah, really excited to be launching it. I'll tell you a little bit about where the idea came from. So
please
paint a picture of where it came from. I am crazy about flea markets and secondhand, as I'm sure a lot of people are. I can see all your beautiful pictures hanging behind, so I can tell maybe you're into it too. But yeah, so even now I'm actually up in Scotland at the moment, and I popped down to the local high street and I sort of dived into all the secondhand stores and bought some old kilts and various Scottish gear, so anywhere in the world I go, I love going to flea markets. And it really started when I was living out in LA, because they have some of the best markets out there. And there's one called Rose Bowl where I used to go every weekend that I was living out there. And I used to find all these treasures, from sort of iconic t-shirts to like pretty dresses to sort of cowboy shirts, you name it. And I'd take them home to my little 1-bedroom flat, which I was living in Venice. And I had no cupboard space at the time. So I used to hang items on my living room wall with a sort of hammer and nail. And I used to create this wall of a theme every week. So it'd be like iconic t-shirts, and I'd hang up all the sort of iconic t-shirts that I bought in market. And I'd take a photo of it and I'd send it back to all my friends in the UK and my sisters, and I'd be like, does anyone want to buy any of these cool t-shirts that I've found? And they really and they started to say, yeah, actually I'd love to buy that, and could I buy that t-shirt and stuff. So I thought, God, this is such a great little way of like curating cool items and selling them through, off my wall. So I had this business called Fridays Shop My Wall, and it wasn't very big a business at all, but it was quite fun doing it. And I'd curate a new wall each week under a theme, and and I'd send these photos back and started this little business. But it's really what I've done is created this platform over time, and it's so that everyone has their living room wall basically, and you can curate whatever you want on your wall. You can put stuff that you found in market, you can sell your old clothes, you can sell your artwork that you've designed, anything you want, and you can then put it on the platform and people can shop off your wall basically. So that's where the idea originated. And I was actually going to show you some pictures, if I can share my screen for just a second.
Please do.
I don't think I can share my screen because I don't, but anyway, I will send some photos of it, because it is quite funny. Some of the early pictures of my wall, of the living room walls that I curated, are quite amusing to look at. So really that's where it all started, is just a love of curating good secondhand. And I think so much of fashion online is quite overwhelming to shop, especially, there's so much fast fashion. We're sort of really overcrowded by so much stuff. So it's really nice just to have a space of 10 items that are very well curated, and it makes shopping more fun and more creative.
I think you're completely right. There are so many places to shop online that actually, for me, like, I find it so overwhelming that if I am shopping for something new, I'm sometimes reluctant to actually shop like shop anywhere new like that I haven't shopped at before when it's online. But what I'm loving at the moment is seeing like all of these different places, like whether it's charity shops or like vintage places, like pre-loved places who are selling things online that have like you've got this amazing like curated platform that, like you say, is like it's a total mix of kind of social but also shopping at the same time, like two birds, one stone, right?
Exactly that, yeah. And we've sort of added a third element, which makes us slightly different from a vintage or a Depop. And I guess that's the curated aspect, which we've discussed, but also this rewards aspect where you earn 5% if someone buys an item through your window that you've curated. So it basically gives you a chance to monetize through curation, which I don't think many people have done yet. So that's really sort of our USP selling point.
So as founder, what does your like day to day look like? Like what are your general like responsibilities of the founder of this business?
God, so working in a startup it's a sort of jack of all trades. You have to wear several different hats at once, and you have to really have be wearing so many different, working in so many different areas. So I do tech. I'm sort of monitoring a lot of the design, the UX, the UI of the tech, of how the platform's built, the way it looks. So that's a whole thing. Then I've got everything from customer acquisitions to customer care, making sure that people on the website are okay, they know how it's working and everything. And then I guess it's a lot about product curation, content, and marketing. So there's so many different aspects that really you have to sort of oversee lots of different areas. But it's really about working with people and having a good team of people around you. And I'm really lucky to be working with a great team who are equally who sort of believe in the product as much as I do. And from day go, they've been really behind it. And I think that makes such a big difference.
And it contributes to the overall outcome, doesn't it? Because if you surround yourself with people who have like lots of different expertise in lots of different areas, you come together and make something amazing. There's this like misconception that everybody has to be good at everything, but that's not true. Like if everybody has their areas of expertise, then you come together and you make like a much better final product.
Absolutely, so true. And I'm definitely a creative through and through. I've got a history very much in design, so I was designing everything from products to hotel rooms to restaurants to all sorts of things. And now websites. So very creative, very visual, and I totally accept the fact that there are very technical areas working in tech that are, I have an amazing business partner, a CTO, who can really fill in all the gaps, and without him I would never be able to create what I'm creating. So yeah, definitely.
Do you find that those previous roles really kind of taught you anything that, any skills that have set you up that you've used now?
Definitely. And even like the funniest things, like I worked in interior design for a while, and we designed hotel rooms and restaurants and things, but everything from snagging, for detail, training your eye to pick up on faults that are not quite right. And definitely I've trained my eye now on websites. I'm sort of picking up on the smallest little glitches or bugs or anything that isn't quite up to scratch. So I think it's really like good training. You can get training for the most bizarre areas and then it comes in use later. So yeah, definitely, I think.
So I want to pick your brains a bit about the resale market, because I was reading the other day that actually it's the resale market is actually set to be bigger than fast fashion by 2029, which is absolutely phenomenal. Why do you think that there has been this shift in consumer behavior and shopping patterns recently?
Well, I mean, I think number one reason is that we're in code red right now for humanity. Like this is a really quite serious time. And I think this, especially the last couple of years, it's kind of really hit home with people. I think COVID has been awful in so many ways, but it did sort of wake us up a little bit in some ways, and it's given us a time to sort of pause and reset and think, God, are we doing this the right way? Is this the best way that we could be doing it? And it's really now about rethinking the way in which we do things, especially in the fashion sector, some supply chains all the way through to how we make products and stuff. I mean, I had a fashion brand myself for a couple of years, and I just felt very guilty, even though I was trying very hard. I was planting a tree for every dress I sold. They were sort of Rixo-esque dresses, so very floaty kind of silk dresses, and I used organic silk, and I tried to find everything, as sustainable as I could. Ultimately, I was then, left with some stock left over, and I just was like, do I need to be producing more things into the world right now? So even, I think people will start thinking about just producing. Do we need it? And does it go back into the earth? Is it biodegradable? Are we creating products that are circular, that can go back into the earth? And if they're not, are there ways in which we can make things better, I think. So definitely, I think it's just this real desire for people to rethink the way that we're doing things in fashion, and sort of change our ways and move away from this fast fashion culture that seems really prominent in the UK, of sort of buying and then throwing away the next day, and then or the next week, and buying sort of 5 dresses at a time, and then which is a huge. I mean, Boohoo is such a massive, massive market still. So yeah.
I think to me, it seems to be a tale of two halves in almost. Like, there's a group of people who are the Instagram generation. Like, I obviously love Instagram, but there's that Instagram generation who will buy a dress and they'll only wear it once because they don't want to be seen in something twice on their newsfeed. But then there are that other set of people who are wanting to shop more consciously, and it's almost like they're kind of battling against each other. That, obviously we can't do it all, but there has to be that attitude change, because it's just so not acceptable to have that attitude of wanting, I can only wear it once, so I'm only seen wearing it once, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's why I think there really needs to be a revolution. I think, as you know, right now it's secondhand September, so it's the 1st of September, and there's, there are these campaigns that are being pushed a lot at the moment about really, trying to wear secondhand for the whole of September. It's an Oxfam campaign run by Bay Garner, actually, who's an informal ambassador for us, which is amazing. Really great to have her on board. But yeah, campaigns like that are really pushing forward, making it cool. Like, it needs to be cool. I think there's may still be a little bit of a stigma around wearing secondhand, and we need to get rid of that and make it, much more desirable and normal. And I think there is a movement, as you say. There are lots more of these secondhand shops popping up everywhere, and charity shops everywhere. But there's still some way to go. And I think Instagram has been a massive issue that sort of influenced the world. And yeah, that does need to sort of be changed in some way.
It's the ultimate way, though, to be shopping vintage, shopping secondhand. It is the ultimate way to make sure that nobody else is wearing like what you're wearing, because you can make yourself totally unique in the way, not just in what you wear, but in the way that you wear it and the way you style up. That nobody else is going to be wearing the same outfit as you. But whereas, how many times have I worn something from Zara and walk down the street and seeing somebody wearing exactly the same thing, and it ruins it, doesn't it? It puts you off. You want to be wearing something that's like completely yours.
And that's what I love about secondhand and the thrift and going to these markets, is finding something unique that no one else has. And yeah, but there should be much more of a push for that on Instagram, definitely, of finding, and styling, making your own style and not having to follow. I wonder whether trends and the idea of having to follow a trend will maybe disappear, and you'll be able to have more freedom over creating your own style with your own unique finds that you find. I wonder, yeah.
Farley, as you mentioned, is all about kind of mixing like the e-com, whereas also with like social media. How did you kind of dissect those two different sectors and look at, say, competing websites, competing like social media platforms, and decide that what, in terms of like user experience, decide what elements of each sector you were going to pull to make Farley?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Social shopping, I mean, is just Instagram is one of the most obvious that proves that Gen Z and social shopping has just been a massive success. I mean, when your friend is wearing something, or someone cool that you look up to is wearing a dress that you love, like, you know, it's very inspiring. So that was a massive thing, and the creating communities is always such a lovely thing. So I definitely wanted it to have a community aspect to it. And also with flea markets, I feel like when you go to car boot sales or things, there's always a nice community feel too, of sort of, oh, I've got these finds, you know, these are from my house, and do any of you want these things? And I think I love that, and really wanted to bring that in with the second-hand thing as well, so that your friends can shop off your thing. So there's the social aspect, which is a big one. The curator aspect, which we've talked about already, which is just pulling together moods. And the product that we're bringing out in November, you have a mood board that you can have a mood board image to go with your products. So it really can create a theme around it. So you could do like a weekend in Paris and have like a photo of you by the Eiffel Tower, and then have like a cool book that you read, you know, around Paris, and a cool beret that you found, and some nice like stripy shorts, or like whatever, you know, whatever it is that goes with that mood. And it's creating a kind of feeling around shopping, which is very personal to the person who's created it. And I think, and I love that idea too. And then lastly, I think, well, there's a sustainable aspect. And then lastly, the gamification aspect, which is the creating the ability to earn points. And I think that's quite exciting as well, especially for people who just are very good at pulling together items. And they're usually influencers are in this category of just having a good eye for what products would look good with what, or styling outfits. And giving them a chance to monetize from just curating cool looks and things. So that's a really fun aspect as well, which we love. Yeah,
there's such a huge conversation around gamification, you know, and there has been for the last few years, and you mentioned there about kind of monetizing the experience, so that you're kind of really encouraging, you know, users to get involved. How did you kind of analyze kind of different initiatives that you could use in order to incentivize people to use the platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So gamification, I love like video games. Sometimes I'm a bit of a geek, So, but I love that idea of sort of earning points and things. And you know, there are so many different currencies with Bitcoin coming in and stuff. I did actually look at having my own currency in which you could spend Farley coins on the platform, and I guess we have brought that in a way. But yeah, you earn points really from good curation. So if I was to put all my favorite shirts and from lots of brands or people selling shirts into a window, and someone else came along and bought a shirt that I curated from someone else's window, I would take 5% commission from that sale. And then I could use that 5% to buy other products. So I thought it was just a really good way of keeping people on the platform, of sharing products and encouraging people to sort of a digital word of mouth, if you will, really sort of encouraging people to share things with other people. So you can create more of a community feel, I think.
So many brands now, kind of secondhand, pre-loved, like charity shops, like rental. There's so many of them around now who are kind of jumping on board of selling online. Like you only have to look at kind of Oxfam, who have like their own like ASOS shop and, you know, different eBay shops and things like that. When you were kind of looking at all of your kind of potential competitors, whether it's rental or charity shops, like how did you look at what they were doing and tweak it and obviously improve on it in order to make a better customer experience? Because it is so important for users to be able to use your platform and almost make it effortless.
Yeah, You're exactly right. I mean, there are so many of these resale shops everywhere, and that's why for us the experience had to be different. Like we had to be different every step of the way. And the way that we've done it is really by having our own. We've got our own messaging service, which they've got already, but really in the creating of the shop window, it is like no one else has done it. So you can upload a mood board image, then you can really start designing. You're allowed decoration in your window as well, so you can really create a mood around it. And with uploading products, you can take a photo of it from your wall and then cut up the background in just a click, which makes, you know, uploading products much more simple. So there's that as well. And then really focusing on the 10 items that really inspire you in that particular shop window. So I don't think any of these other resale platforms have that creative experience as much as we're sort of looking. It's more of a sort of buying into an experience of shopping, buying and selling and curating online. And I hadn't quite seen that being done quite like that yet. So yeah.
Can't wait to see it in action.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned earlier a little bit about kind of creating a community, and you know that you've got this messaging service where users are able to chat to each other and connect with each other. Why do you think it is so important for kind of users and your audience to be able to connect in that way?
Oh, I think it's so important because you need to talk about the product that you're buying. You need to discuss it, you know, any questions that you have about it. And any problems with sort of the delivery, making sure that you're happy with it. Those things are so important. And so the messaging service is really, really helpful for that. Asking for additional photos, you can be sent. And then also being able to share, you can also share windows with your community as well. So you can share them on Instagram, you'll be able to share them on Facebook and Pinterest and stuff. So really allowing users to share it with other community. And then also we're offering this ability for users to get extra points. So you can have 5 points if you refer it to a friend to join the platform, and you can earn points for, you know, sharing windows. So yeah, there are lots of incentives to kind of keep the community vibe going and really and keep it happy at the same time, because ultimately a happy community is what we're looking for, and a sustainable one too, I guess. And actually on that point, worth mentioning that we have got a sort of sustainable manifesto on our platform that we try and encourage people to upload secondhand or recycled or products that are built in a circular way as much as possible. And we've got little sort of warning things so people can make, you know, red flag up products that they don't think fit into the community. So we do try and keep that intact as much as possible.
It must be, because I was actually going to ask, like, it must actually, when you are building a platform like this and you are wanting, you know, more and more users, it must actually be quite hard to kind of curate what kind of sellers and what users that you have on board who are kind of staying true to the ethos of like Farley. When they sign up, like, how are they going to know kind of before they even have an account, you know, what your kind of ethos is, and you know what would cause them to have those red flags?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think it's about getting key early sort of leaders on board early, and we're doing that by sort of approaching some amazing secondhand sellers and some sustainable influencers. And also we're going out to target sort of fashion schools. And I know you spoke to, I think, a couple of people from the Graduate Foundation.
Yeah.
I listened to the interview on that, which was amazing. But they, you know, so many amazing young people are coming out of these fashion schools who we've got amazing ideas about how to create products that are circular or all sorts of things. So, you know, really getting their work up in the windows and creating forward-thinking people who are leading the way in the space, which will then hopefully inspire others to do the same. And I think over the next few months, just before we launch, we're really doing pushes for that. We're doing lots of little pop-ups. We're doing one in Goodwood Revival.
Oh wow.
So you must come visit us there. So we're doing lots of little pop-ups with our vintage, because I mean, I've collected so much vintage over the years, so a lot of that will be going on the platform, and a lot of it will be going into pop-ups that we're doing as well. So we'll have lots of products already going up, so there should be a sort of buzz around the secondhand vintage thing anyway.
Well, I'm obsessed with buying vintage, so expect to have me as one of your top shoppers.
Oh, I can't wait.
So you talked about kind of using influencers and working with kind of like ideal sellers for your website. How do you kind of select and narrow down the kind of influencers who you think would be kind of desirable to work with, who kind of feel authentic to you?
Yeah, it's such a hard one, that one, because it's been a real challenge. I mean, I've got a few friends who are influencers, and they've been amazingly supportive, especially the ones who I really feel are in alignment with what I'm doing and the messages that I want to get across. But otherwise, it's quite a lot of it is a sort of gut reaction to, you know, having a conversation with them and just understanding if they're in alignment with what we're doing and things. But there are some amazing people out there who are really behind sort of secondhand and vintage, and so it's just finding them and connecting, and Instagram's been a great platform for that, growing community.
So since you kind of did your first like soft launch, I think you said it is in January earlier this year, you've been featured by the likes of, let me get it right, you've got Harper's Bazaar and Sheer Luxe, like, which are amazing, like, people to cover you, like, so incredible. How have you gone around like pitching your story, because it is so unique? How do you tell journalists like what all the information, that what they want to hear, so that they can feature you?
We are constantly redoing the copy of what we're doing, because we have to get it perfect, and we have to get the wording of what it is, because it is so unique, as you say. We have to really make it so simple to understand, and that's an ongoing process, really. So writing the press releases is always an evolution of, you know, making sure that people can really understand what we're doing. So we've worked a lot on that, and then otherwise just having a really good team in PR who are behind it and believing in it and really pushing it out, and a lot of people have been really interested, I guess, because there isn't much quite like it at the moment, so that we've had some great feedback about it, and hopefully with the launch we'll do a big push as well, and so exciting.
I was having the same conversation, actually. I interviewed a lady called Lynette a couple of weeks ago, who runs a website called Lovely Vintage. And we were talking, and she was saying, for a long time, it's been really hard to feature vintage pre-love pieces in magazines and online, because so many like magazines, fashion editors only want to feature products which are kind of, you know, there's many of them available. If it's a one-off, it's quite difficult to feature. What's your stance on that? Do you think that, you know, magazines and websites have become a bit more willing and more responsive to feature your kind of platform?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think they're a lot more interested in it. And I think it's going to get even more prominent. I really think there's going to be, I mean, there's some great, there's a shop that's popped up all over around where I live in London called Good, and it's a charity shop. But there's so many of these vintage shops that are just popping up like normal, not even charity shops. They're just, you know, like a proper shop. And I think we'll see more and more of that. And people really will be looking at either tailoring items so they're just made just for themselves, upcycling, or creating one-of-a-kind pieces, or just buying one-off vintage bits. I think there's much more of a movement towards that sort of state of mind, rather than a lot of people were like, oh, but you should just have like lots of brands like putting up loads and loads of things. And I was like, no, because I just think it's going against, ultimately it's going to be going against what my values are as a brand, and that's so important. And it just to make money, it would be going against really what I'm about as a platform. So I'm trying really hard just to stay true to those values of you know, one of a kind, really, and if not one of a kind, at least, you know, building a product that is, you know, really striving to be as sustainable as possible. And there's so much greenwashing out there, I think, so
It's huge.
that's really hard, because we found that a lot of brands were like, oh yeah, we'll put up our stuff and we're really green and we're sustainable, and I'm like, are you, you know, how are you? And, you know, there's no evidence of this and that, and so it's been really hard to there's no regulation really around it either. So
how do you think that you can educate yourself, because it is so difficult, isn't it? Like with like every single fashion brand that on the high street is, you know, making an effort to appear, at least to be, you know, kind of more green and more sustainable. And it seems that they only have to release like an edit or a collection of pieces which are said to be kind of more ecological, when in actual fact, sometimes that means that they're actually scaling up production, and actually sometimes they're not that, you know, eco at all. But it does kind of come back to the consumer, doesn't it, to be spending our money and voting with our pounds, you know, to make sure that we're spending money on actual eco stuff. But it can get a bit overwhelming to know and educate ourselves of kind of what is sustainable. How can we do that to make ourselves better shoppers?
I know. I mean, there are some amazing regulations out there. I did actually briefly do B Corp. So B Corp is a good way of sort of working out if businesses are really thinking about these things. And it's a sort of certified thing that some small businesses can get. So I would advise on the business side, some of the brands to be running through that sort of process. But as a shopper, you have to really do your research and really be digging deep into, you know, supply chains, and the problem is transparency is that a lot of these brands don't they hide away the fact of how they're making things, and that's a massive problem, because we don't have any way of finding out how they where they source their fabrics, or, you know, how they make them. And I think there needs to be a call in fashion for much more transparency of brands. We need to be knowing exactly, just in the same way, I guess, when you buy your broccoli, you know where it comes from, in which country and which farm. I think in the same way, you should be able to scan your dress and know exactly where that cotton came from, and have some transparency on it.
So I want to know a little bit more and look back round to kind of Farley as a business. What kind of, as a startup, because you're a startup and, you know, you just did your soft launch in January, what kind of advice would you give to kind of any kind of startup, new businesses that are out there right now, going by kind of what you've learned with the steps that you went through?
I think probably being determined to go after your dream is a massive one. That you really have to dig deep when you're a startup, really, because you come up with so many different issues and things along the way. So you have to have a passion that really drives you. But ultimately, what's really kept me going along the way is asking why I'm doing it, and I think that's such a big one. And for me, it was really that I wanted to sort of make a difference in the world, or at least leave the world a better place than I've come into it. And that's been my sort of why of what I'm doing. And it keeps me going when there are really hard times ahead, or when people really doubt what you're doing, or they aren't sure about it, or because you're always going to get that. You're always going to get people who don't quite understand it, or it isn't their thing, or, you know, they're not sure about it in some way. So I think during those times, you go back to the why, and you're like, okay, that's why I'm doing it. And then it sort of gets you through those difficult times. So I think having a why and your why, I guess, should be something that is trying to solve a problem in some way. And I think that's a key point as well. But yeah, determination's a big one.
Well, I think that is advice for life, just to be true to yourself at every possible stage, then you can't go far wrong.
Exactly. That's such good advice. Yeah. Being authentic as well. Yeah. Very important.
So you've got the launch coming up in November, which is very exciting. What can we expect from Farley going forward?
Oh, what can you expect? So just creating a bit of a vibe, I think. We're doing some fun videos. We're getting some, as you say, some great influencers and key sort of style setters on board. So we'll have some interesting collaborations coming up, ready for launch, and lots of pop-ups and things. So so stay tuned and follow us on Instagram, and we can, so you'll be able to see the journey unfold as we come up to launch.
Well, it is so exciting, and I cannot wait to sign up and get using and shopping. And it's been so amazing, like, to talk to you and kind of hear your insights over the industry, but also kind of such exciting project that you've been working on. Can't wait to see more. It's going to be brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.